Okay, going into the next bread and butter closed guard submission. This is going to be the triangle. So we already covered the triangle from the half guard. More than likely, you're going to be hitting submissions mostly from closed guard and mount. Any submissions in the in-between positions like half guard, even side control can be difficult to hit submissions from sometimes. But closed guard and mount, you have complete control over your opponent. And one of the submissions that is almost 100% guaranteed once you actually lock it in place is the triangle choke. And probably my personal favorite choke. I've probably hit 1,000 triangle chokes in my life, and it's probably my favorite and best submission. So I have a lot of good details on the position, and this is a technique that works for everyone. Don't think that if you have short legs or you're inflexible, you can't do the triangle choke. There's always a way to do it. It's just about hitting the proper angles and the proper details in the position. So the same principle applies with the controlling the center area of the closed guard, the box we'll call it. For the triangle, it's the same exact thing. Bring your hands underneath. It's not always as simple as just coming here and punching upwards. If he has strong grips or he's strong, he's pinching his elbows in, it's a little difficult to just force it up like this. So sometimes it's okay just to bring your hands in and just get collar control, okay? So I show this one because it works gi and no gi, but sometimes if the person's wearing a gi, it can be better just to get inside control on his collars like this. Once you get collar control, you can pull forward with your arms and your legs and make him just feel like he needs to let go of your gi just because you're bringing him so close and forward. If he hangs on too close, if he keeps hanging on like this, you can still free your arm and kind of force his hands to the mat until we get a really solid inside control and his hands are on the mat, leaving him exposed to all sorts of submissions. So we're just going to be doing that this time. Hands in to the collar, pulling him down and forward and pulling with our legs, and then bringing our hands out. For this one, I'm just going to go to one side. I bring one arm out and I'm going to get what's called an overhook. My arm is going over his arm and hooking, hence the name overhook here. From this position, see how I'm facing straight up? I need to adjust the angle. I want to be facing to the side, angling my hips this way, with my leg over his back almost, okay? The way we do that is by opening up the closed guard for a second. You can see my legs are crossed here. I'm going to uncross them. I still have solid control. I'm going to put this one on the mat. As I put it on the mat, I'm just going to do a slight shrimping motion. If you're a white belt and you're in a new gym, I'm sure that maybe do 100 shrimps so far. So you're just this is a position where you're applying that concept. Opening my legs, doing a shrimp, and then closing them again. You can see now my closed guard is still closed, but my top leg is now over his back. This helps me maintain his posture and keep it broken. The weight of my leg makes it very difficult for him to sit back up and get any sort of control back. I'm using my arm to gesture around, but ideally you want to keep this with the overhook as well here. Okay? Now from here, he's going to be trying to sit up straight and try and get control back, maybe even trying to grab my collar like this, okay? And that's fine. It actually works better if he isn't just a dead fish. We want a little bit of reaction from him here. As he's trying to regain his control, I want to have my hand be on the inside near his bicep, like this. Let's turn a little here. So as he's trying to regain control, my hand is going to the bicep. At the same time that it's going to the bicep, I'm pushing away to clear space for my knee. See how my knee is sliding in here? I'm just trying to separate his arms and make sure they're as far apart from each other as possible so he can't get any sort of control over me, like this. Once I'm here, you can sort of open your closed guard and move your legs around, whatever feels comfortable, because you're in so good control and his posture is broken with your overhook and the leg over his back. Now from here, we can start actually setting up the triangle choke submission. I've sort of locked his arm in place between my shin and my hand here, like this. All I'm going to do is slide my hand down to his wrist, like this. From here, people are going to start fighting with you. He's not just going to sit here. He's going to be trying to move his arm around and try and get control of maybe your leg, or he'll do anything. He'll grab anything he can. Your job is trying to keep it away from you, as far away from you as possible. From this position, you just have a functional advantage here. Being able to use your arms stiff and straight and being able to use your legs against him, you're probably going to be able to overpower his arm enough to at least keep it away from him. Once you've created some distance here, all you're going to do is try and bring your knee as close to your chest as you can, and you're going to poke your toes through the space you've created. Just like this. If you can just get your toes through, that's enough. You don't have to try and bring your whole foot through yet. Just get your toes. Once your toes are through, don't continue trying to pull your leg up, because most people aren't going to have the dexterity to actually pull your leg all the way through in one smooth motion. All you do is now point your toes like a ballerina. Once you point them, that's going to help you clear your foot all the way through. From here, you're going to go back to what's going to look just like a closed guard, but now it's just around his head and his arm. I'm still going to maintain control of this wrist for as long as I can. Okay? That's very important because if I let go too soon, he's going to bring his arm back inside and you may even lose the position and maybe even lose the closed guard. So it's very important you keep your hand on the wrist until we get to the next step. The next step is to let go of the overhook. As I let go of the overhook, my hand goes from the overhook to the leg that's nearest to his neck, here. So I'm still keeping the closed guard, and I'm sort of replacing what my other foot was doing with my arm. So you can see my other foot is reinforcing my right leg, and I need to maintain that lock, but I also need to use my leg for the next step. So I'm gonna replace it with my hand. And I'm bringing my foot to his hip, just like we did for the arm bar, here. The foot goes on the far hip. I lift my hips and I do the same motion we did earlier for the arm bar. I'm turning my body to reach that perpendicular position that I want. As I turn my body, I'm bringing my leg down on the back of his head. Very similar to the arm bar position we were doing, where I was here and I was pinching my leg down on his back. The triangle follows the same concept. Pinching down like this. Let's do a rotation to the other side. So I'm here, I have my leg through, I'm letting go of the overhook and grabbing my shin. As I grab my shin, I put my foot on the hip. You can see this holding onto my leg is doing something very important. If I don't hold onto my leg, he'll be able to posture right up, no problem. So by holding onto my ankle here, if he tries to posture up, my body's going to come with him. And I'm not using that much strength. Okay? From here, my foot on the hip is going to help me rotate. Very important to keep your knee pointed up as you rotate. If I try and rotate and I point my knee too far down, his right arm is able to, he can just escape very easily. He can just pull his right arm out and I'm going to lose the triangle. So make sure you point your knee up, keeping everything locked in tight so now if he tries to pull his leg out, there's nowhere it can go. His elbow will just get caught on my upper thigh. Now from here, I'm cutting the angle. If you're having difficulty turning, it's totally okay to use your right arm to hook on his arm or even underneath his other leg or even just to grab anything to help you turn the angle. Okay? As I turn the angle, you can see I'm pulling myself forward, trying to bring his body and his head towards the mat. From that position, as I pull, I'm bringing my left leg out here from the hip to go over my other leg, over the top of my ankle. A very common mistake is to point your toes here. If you point your toes here and then you try and lock the triangle over your foot, it's going to straighten your foot and you're not going to have a very tight triangle and it can even put pressure on your foot and hurt. So it's very important to point your toes straight up and leave this hook here. That's your goal, to try to shoot your leg tight enough so that your foot stays in this upward position. That's going to make a tight triangle choke. If you leave it relaxed like this and I try to do the triangle like this, it's going to leave a lot of space and he may be able to even posture out of it because your figure 4 lock isn't tight enough. A figure 4 lock is just this motion here. It's referred to as a figure 4 lock. Okay? Some of the key details here to make sure you have a really tight triangle is to try and lock it over his shoulder. If his shoulder is within the figure 4 lock, I'm not putting that much pressure on his neck. Now I'm sort of squeezing his upper rib cage and his collarbones. I want to isolate it so it's only choking his neck and his arm is going to be within that. And the way you do that is just by making sure you really cut that 180-degree angle here. I guess it's more of a 90 degree, not 180 degrees. Here, pulling his leg right over the back of his neck, and look, I'm using my knee to go upward and over the shoulder. If you feel like your triangle chokes aren't finishing people and your legs are burning out, it's probably because you're missing the detail of making sure the shoulder is on the outside of the triangle choke. That's what's going to create it to be super tight. Okay? Once you have the triangle choke locked up, your goal is to try and bring this arm across your body completely. Here. Let's try and face them so you can see that. From here, shoulder is in right now. I'm making sure that I bring it out. The shoulder is now out of the lock. From here, the guy's going to be choking probably already. However, we're going to make it even tighter. I'm going to bring his arm across my body. You can see his head is down right here. It's going to be difficult for me to pull it across. So what I need to do is I need to lift my hips to create space and then pull it across my body and try and nestle his elbow into my hip. Once I get it all the way across, I'm pulling his head down and squeezing my legs. The motion to actually finish is to pull here, squeeze your knees together, and then lift your hips up. So there's 3 motions happening here. Scoot back a little. So I'm here, squeezing. I squeeze inward and down, pinching my left leg down, and then I point my feet, like I'm trying to bring my feet from here to here, trying to get them in alignment. Then from there, I'm pulling the back of his head, and then lifting my hips. And that's what makes a super tight triangle. If you just do one of those 3 things, it'll be tight, but it may not be enough to finish the guy. Like if I just pull down on his head, probably not gonna choke him. If I just squeeze my legs, pointing my toes, trying to align my knees, probably not gonna choke him. If I just lift my hips, probably not gonna choke him. But if I squeeze my knees together, have his arm across, and pull down on his head, that's what's gonna put the pressure on the carotid arteries and choke the guy. So, I'll go through the full movement one time. Here, he's holding on. Bring my hands in, grip the collars. Pull them forward, get my overhook. From this position, I shrimp. Here, isolating the bicep, trying to bring my knee in the front. Going to the wrist, extending away. Creating just enough space to get my toes through, and then I ballerina toe them through. Lock it up. From this position, my left hand goes to the ankle, my left foot goes to the hip, and I pull across, cutting the 90-degree angle. Locking up to finish the figure 4, lifting my hips, pulling the arm across, making sure his head is pointed down here, making sure I'm pulling down on his head, squeezing my knees together, and then lifting my hips. If you follow all those key details to the T of triangle choke, you're going to be able to finish anyone. Puss.